So welcome. My name is Christina Haxton, and as you know, Amanda will be helping me out today. She is absolutely my right hand and our Director of Customer Satisfaction. You should have received the AI Strategy and Leadership Self-Assessment when you registered. In case you did not, no worries. We'll be able to show you what that looks like, and you'll be able to take the self-assessment during the webinar. What we'll also do is after the webinar, as promised, we're going to send you an implementation checklist after the webinar. If anybody would like a copy of the slides, please feel free to reach out. We'll have our contact information and how you can do that to request a copy of the slides at the end. We are going to go quickly, and so if you have any comments or questions, you are welcome to put your comments or questions in the chat or comment section from wherever you are watching from. And Amanda will be monitoring those, like she said. At the end, we will have a question and answer comment opportunity. Amanda, again, will be monitoring those. And at the end, we'll also have an exclusive invitation for anybody who is ready soon or ready now to adopt AI and want to integrate that into their strategy. So let's get started. Here's our agenda today. First, we're going to do some introductions and welcome. I'll let you know a little bit about myself and the Center for Sustainable Strategies. Then we are going to talk about AI hype versus AI reality. I like to also refer to this as facts versus feelings. There's lots of feelings out there when it comes to AI, and there's some facts out there we think you should know. The third item on our agenda is we're going to be talking about some of the common mistakes that I see business leaders make when it comes to adopting AI. And I've been seeing this over the last, I'd say probably couple of years, more so in the last year, even more so in the last 6 to 8 months. The fourth agenda item is that we're going to share with you our exclusive AI Strategy Playbook and our 3-part framework for adopting any change or implementing anything new in your organization. The fifth thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about 2 real world case examples and their success stories. So I think they're great and they're very helpful. You've been interacting with AI for quite a while, a long time actually, and you probably know that, but I think that there are going to be some examples where you're like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that was AI. And the last thing that we're going to do is we'll go through a time where you can ask questions, talk about your challenges, maybe get some help from other folks that are also on this stream if you'd like. If you'd like to take the assessment, Amanda actually has put the link in the chat. So if you'd like to go there really quick so you can get a score, you certainly can do that as well. So who are we? So here at the Center for Sustainable Strategies, we help CEOs of small enterprises and mid-market, lower and mid-market companies to basically keep people problems from being process problems and making sure that strategy gets owned by all and executed, not just from the top down, but from the bottom up. So we have a unique process that we help companies engage all of their employees into a strategic plan. So it's not just a plan, it's an executable plan. So who am I? My name is Christina Haxton. And like I said, and like you, I am a high-performing overthinker who can absolutely turn a to-do list into a competitive sport. Unlike you, I am also a recovering marriage and family therapist. And in that past life, I worked with really brilliant, visionary, but burned out CEOs who were wildly successful on paper, yet they were secretly Googling how to fake your own death and move to Costa Rica. They did want their second chance to look different than their first career. So together, I helped them build a purpose-driven companies that were grounded in their core values, where they really actually loved the hell out of what they did every day, unlike their first chapter oftentimes. They also were able to sleep at night. So if you're here wondering if it's possible to grow your business and not lose your mind, you are in the right place. So let's kick this off. So let's talk about hype versus reality, or feelings versus facts. So one of the things I have heard a lot of, and I actually hear this a lot from employees, is that my job is going to be replaced by AI in the next 3 years. Well, the fact is, AI really is going to be transforming roles and creating new ones. The intention for AI, a good intention for AI, is it's not to replace employees. It's supposed to help employees be able to offload or delegate some of the non-strategic, automated administration, the mindless work that they're doing now, so that they can create bandwidth to participate fully in their role and be able to be creative, be innovative, be problem solvers, to be strategic thinkers. Right now, a lot of the tasks people do are mundane, boring, and they probably, people, a lot of times people don't feel like they can really contribute their value because a lot of their time is taken up, with these mundane tasks. So what we're looking at is, AI is actually expected to create 69 million jobs, all the while displacing 83 million. And so the real shift is in job evolution, not mass extinction. I've also heard, and I hear this more from leadership. Well, AI makes better business decisions than humans. It can think faster and is more accurate. Well, I don't know about you, but I've used AI now for quite a while, and my policy is always trust but verify. If you use ChatGPT, you also know that it does put forth information in a very confident way. But if you fact check, sometimes you realize it's not as accurate as it presents itself to be. So you do need to trust but verify. But so the reality check is, yes, while AI can, find answers quickly, do deep research much more effectively and efficiently in a fraction of the time, human judgment, context, and strategic thinking are essential. A study recently done by McKinsey found that companies with the strong human first plus AI collaboration absolutely outperform those companies that are relying solely on AI or automation. Next, we also hear, and if you hear this, and somebody or something promises you that AI powered companies are going to grow 10x faster overnight. Well, first of all, that's a different issue, very unlikely to happen, and probably not a problem you would like to have. I don't know about you. I would not. I would implode if I grew 10x faster overnight, and a lot of other companies that we work with would also. The reality is, AI can accelerate performance, a company's performance, but only when it's aligned with three things: the business strategy, the culture, and the leadership. And what we see when we see failed AI projects, it's because they lack clarity at the top, they lack cross-functional alignment, and they lack buy-in from employees. So we really want to make sure we get those things right out the gate. Otherwise, we're wasting a lot of time and money. So the question is, are you leading AI or are you reacting to it? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about some common mistakes in AI adoption. So At the Center for Sustainable Strategies, we show our clients how to use our three-part framework to create a solid game plan when it comes to any change effort. Because if any of the three are missing, the mission will fail. And in this case, we're going to show you how our three-part framework shows up when mistakes are made in terms of, which part of the framework are we missing. So just to give you a preview, the three parts are clarity, alignment, and action. So for now, just keep those in mind, and we're going to dive deeper into what those three things mean in a minute. But first of all, let's look at some common CEO mistakes or business leader mistakes when it comes to AI adoption. The first one we see is, as we've talked about or mentioned, chasing AI, an AI solution without having a strategic goal in mind, or when it's not aligned with the strategy that exists. Now, I also understand that right now there are strategies and strategic plans that are being adjusted, and they do need to be, given the economic uncertainty right now, global uncertainty, global economy, politics, all types of administration changes. It feels a bit like whiplash. So I think if you don't already have a business continuity plan, you need to make sure that you have one. This is kind of feeling a little bit 2008-ish and 2020-ish. So be ready and be resilient. So anything that you do, I think, can align with this three-part framework. But first, let's talk about these mistakes. So mistake number one is chasing AI without a strategic goal. In that case, our first part of the three-part framework, that is not, we don't have clarity if we're just chasing AI. Mistake number two is letting your vendors drive the vision. So that's lacking in clarity and lacking in alignment. And we're going to go through all these three mistakes in just a minute, but we'll go just over them now. So mistake number three is not communicating with your team and not involving your team in the process. And by team, that could be your entire company. It's whoever uses the AI or is affected by the AI. And I'm going to say also, I think also informing your clients and your customers of how to use that and having them be involved to the degree that they can. Mistake number four is waiting for perfect data before you take action. The last mistake is when we measure success with the wrong metrics. And that's unfortunately, and that's lacking in clarity and lacking in an action plan. So now let's eavesdrop on two conversations around the conference table with two different leadership team meetings. Ask yourself, which conversation would you rather be a part of? And maybe which conversation have you been a part of? So mistake number one, chasing AI without a strategic goal in mind and not having it connected to a measurable business outcome. So when it comes to doing it wrong, here's what I hear. This is kind of after action review. Well, we spent 6 figures on a chatbot no one used because we didn't know what problem it was solving. Not the conversation you want to be part of. Executive team did it right. Sounds like, well, first we started by identifying where can AI reduce friction in our customer journey. Then let's build tech around that. Second mistake sounds like this. When we let our vendors drive the vision. And I would imagine all of you have been in this boat. So we get a demo by a vendor and we get excited. I saw this happen with a client just this past summer. He got a demo of a CRM. They did not have a CRM at the time, or what they did have was pretty cumbersome. And what ended up happening is the CEO had this sales meeting basically and said yes to the CRM, didn't say anything to his leadership team that he was considering it, just said yes. So being dazzled by the demo, and then 6 months later wondering why no one's using the CRM or using the platform. The leadership team that did it right, first they said, well, we got clarity on the use case, what our success metrics were, and then we brought the vendor in. But we did so only after aligning our leadership team. Let's look at mistake number 3. Kind of alluded to it in the last slide, which is just not communicating with the team. I cannot tell you how often this happens. And oftentimes what I hear is the CEO or business leader would say, well, I knew they'd like it. I knew they'd love it. And then they realized they had a little bit of buyer's remorse. And then they're like, oh, shit, excuse me. Shoot, this probably wasn't the best idea. I probably should have paused my decision, brought it to the team. But frankly, I just didn't want to hear them say no. So I decided to go ahead and just say yes, and then push it down from the top. So when we don't assume, when we assume AI is going to improve efficiency, but team wasn't involved out the gate, they didn't trust it, they didn't understand it, you're going to see that they are basically not going to use it. You're going to get a lot of resistance. The executive team that did it right said, well, first of all, we invested more time and communication. We over communicated. And not only did we provide training, we provided our team time to do the training. It's one thing to provide it, but it's a whole other part of the game plan that you need to have, which is make sure they have time to learn it and really thoroughly learn it. And that way you can get very, very high adoption. Now let's look at mistake number 3. First of all, if anybody has experienced any of these or either of these, feel free to note that in the chat. So mistake number 4, I think my slide's loading a little slowly here. I'll wait for it to show up on the screen. Okay, perfect. So mistake number 4 is waiting for the perfect data. We're going to postpone progress until we have perfect conditions. Well, the boat has already left the dock, folks. So at the same time, when we said, make sure there's clarity and alignment before you take action, that doesn't mean it has to be perfect. And so what I hear around the conference table is, well, by the time we launched, our competitors had already tested 3 iterations of it. So we're already behind. Those who did it right, you know what? I hear we launched, we had messy data, but we had clear goals. And then we refined and adjusted course as we went. It's kind of like riding a bike up a hill, right? So at first, if you're riding a bike up a hill on a really narrow street, and you want to avoid hitting cars on either side of that street, you have to stand up and you have to start pedaling. Once you start pedaling, then you can adjust your course, then you can steer, but you can't steer if you're not pedaling. And finally, mistake number 5. Mistake number 5, measuring success with the wrong metrics. So oftentimes, hopefully we've developed KPIs, and we have old KPIs, but then when we implement new technology, if we're using the old KPIs and leadership is rewarding the wrong behaviors that are related to the old KPIs, that's not going to be helpful. We're not going to see cause effect. We're not going to see if this then that. We're not going to see the ROI. So making sure that we update our KPIs to focus on the quality of the outreach, not the quantity of the outreach in this case. AI needs to be an amplifier, not a distraction. So those are the 5 mistakes we see most companies make And I'm wondering if anybody has any mistakes they've experienced and would like to share any stories about, yes, this is how we did it right, or this is how we would do it differently going forward. Please let us know in the chat. So next, let's talk about the AI Strategy Playbook. Now, I did refer earlier to the three-part framework. So our three-part framework is proprietary, and it is how we show our clients, or what we show our clients when it comes to implementing any change or implementing a strategic plan, whether it comes to implementing even a smaller change in the organization. And we'll talk about clarity, alignment, and action. And you need to have these three things, and this is the order of go. Okay, so let's talk about how these show up in AI adoption. So first of all, when it comes to clarity, we need to know, why are we doing this? But my slides are a little slow on my end here. We need to make sure that our effort is business driven, not tech led. It's AI is there to support an effort that's we already have our eye on. It's just going to help us get there more efficiently. It's going to help us get there faster. We want to make sure AI is connected to company vision and measurable outcomes. We need to integrate AI. 1 + 1 = 3. AI shouldn't be just a something we're doing on the side, kind of like a hobby. If I'm the CEO of a company, I'm asking myself, to make sure we have clarity, I'm asking myself and my team, what are we trying to solve for? Are we or am I just chasing bright, shiny objects? So definitely say no. A lot of times your CEOs, in my experience, many, not all, are, well, on the Colby assessment, we call it a long line, quick start. Basically, just take action and kind of figure it out as we go, build the plane as we fly it. Well, while that might be really exciting if you're the visionary CEO, it's terrifying if you are the leadership team who are supposed to execute that vision. So just keep that in mind. Next, let's talk about alignment. This is the second step in our three-part process. With alignment, we want to make sure that we get cross-functional input. So what we recommend to the clients that we work with is we convene a committee of people, cross-functional. And it's not necessarily people who are in leadership positions. I think you really need to have people at the table who are going to be your end users of your AI, who are going to be touching it, who are going to be implementing it, and who are going to be affected by it, even though they might not be using it. You really need a diverse set of eyes looking at all aspects of that. So think about a systemic approach. So if we convene and we choose a good cross-section of everyone who will be leading it, implementing it, touched by it, affected by it, we really want to make sure that we get all those voices at the table. And we want to have a way to make sure that we clearly communicate and over communicate. I can't emphasize over communication enough. We truly over communicate across the company. Why? First, start with why we're doing this. What difference is it going to make for each person who is touching this, and connect that into our goals, connect that to the vision and the purpose of the company. So everybody, and people are going to forget that. So leadership really needs to really bang the drum, not loudly, but consistently about the why of that, to really keep people engaged. And then thirdly, we need to make sure that there are owners. So there's an owner of the entire AI integration project. That's someone who you can look into one set of eyes, who is not responsible for implementation of everything, but the owner is responsible for the delegation of aspects of it. But they ultimately are the one that CEO would probably ask questions of, and they answer to the CEO. And then that said, if you break down the project to several pieces, you're going to have owners of each part, right? Maybe somebody in sales is going to own one part if it's a CRM solution, and there's something that we need to figure out about that CRM solution, then that person in sales is going to own that piece. So, if the AI we're looking at is going to affect customer service, let's have somebody at the table who owns. Let's see what the impact is, and let's see what those numbers are that we're expecting, so that that person in customer service can come back to that table and report back. So we want to have an owner for each piece and an owner for the entire AI adoption. If I'm the CEO, I'm asking questions like, who owns what? With respect to the project and the pieces of the project. I don't need to do everything. I just need to know who owns it. And I really want to make sure everyone is informed and aligned. I think that from a leadership position, communication from leadership, consistent communication, connecting vision, purpose, a core purpose, and why our why, what we're doing is really a constant message the CEO really needs to be responsible for, and keeping everyone aligned. So we've got clarity. We've talked about clarity. We've talked about alignment. Now let's talk about action. And this is where the rubber hits the road. So when it comes to action, we want to pilot this AI solution. Don't take your hands off the wheel. Don't, start out and then just take the wheel, let your hands off the wheel and let it go where it's going to go. We really need to pilot, iterate, and measure, but don't overplan. So when it comes to consistent check-ins, feedback loops, we want to make sure we're getting that information consistently. And we want to use real world feedback to drive improvement, right? Get impact. If you're going to impact, you want to impact your customer experience, don't guess in your silo in your conference room about whether or not it's effective or not. We have to ask. And I know that might sound silly that I'm saying that, but I can't tell you how many companies actually really use guessing and mind reading when it comes to getting customer feedback. And they actually don't get the customer feedback. So get your customer feedback, adjust as necessary. If I'm the CEO, I'm going to ask, when it comes to action, now we've got our plan. What is our next small step? What we'll see in the examples is, that we didn't roll out this change company-wide out the gate. We rolled it out thoughtfully. We rolled it out in parts and pieces, and then we adjusted course before we rolled it out to the entire company. And we want to make sure, how are we going to measure success when it comes to executing? Any questions on clarity, alignment, or action? And if you have any questions on that 3-part framework, please put it in the chat. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the leadership self-assessment. Let's see how you did. So in the the AI leadership assessment, you were to rate your organization on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is strongly disagree, 5 is strongly agree. And as you can read here, we look at these 4 areas to see how we're doing and are we prepared to adopt AI. So 4 areas: strategic AI integration. We've got a clear strategy for integrating AI into our business operations. We are using AI tools that are aligned with our company visions and goals. We measure the impact of AI on business performance and profitability, giving yourself a score between 1 and 5 there. Leadership and culture. How does leadership actively communicate how AI supports, not replaces human roles? And again, I'm going to say consistent communication, banging that drum is really essential for leadership. We want to make sure that employees feel really confident and really empowered to work alongside AI tools. And we want to make sure that we are a culture of adaptability and flexibility and continuous learning around AI adoption. Don't just throw your people into the deep end and hope they can swim. So Amanda has mentioned in the chat, put your scores in the chat. Let us know how AI ready you are. And certainly look and see in what areas are you strongest? In what areas do we have some opportunities or some gaps to make up? When it comes to decision making and execution, we want to make sure that AI is being used to enhance decision making, but final calls need to happen with human oversight. Don't do the Jesus take the wheel thing here. Making sure that we balance data-driven insight with intuition and experience. What's it like for people to be using this AI? After, check in after it's the 30-day mark, at the 90-day mark. How is it going? Are there any just places where people are getting stuck? And obviously, seek feedback from the people that are using it, get feedback from the people that are impacted by it. We also want to make sure that, teams understand how to use AI so they can be more efficient and not sacrifice quality or accuracy. Finally, when it comes to ethical and responsible use of AI, this is very important. We make sure we've got guidelines to make sure it's used responsibly and ethically. We want to make sure that our data is secure. We want to make sure that we're working with our IT department. Boys, I tell you what, that's the department that gets really nervous when it comes to AI, especially if you have proprietary information, making sure that your employees don't inadvertently disclose any of that information, how to use it in a way that keeps your data safe and away from the public. In some ways that needs to happen, and making sure that we are not hijacking somebody else's solution and calling it ours for sure. We just need to as leadership really needs to make sure they're actively involved in making sure that we're doing it right and we're doing it ethically and responsibly. So there's 3 opportunities, 40 to 50 strong AI leadership. You're ready and well aligned. 30 to 39, you're ready, but you're not yet quite on the right track. There might be some areas that need refinement. And then below 30, there's misalignment. There is definitely room to improve. Using this checklist to identify any key action steps is important. Plus, you will get a checklist at the end to make sure. And the other thing is looking at, you can take this AI leadership assessment. What if you gave it to your team? Would you get a same score? Would you get a lower score? Would you get a higher score? So feel free to bring this back to your team, have them take it and make a conversation around the table to see where you guys land. So now let's look at 2 case studies. The first case study, as some of you have heard of Papa John's. It's a pizza franchise. And actually, I think Peyton Manning might have something to do with this, although I could be wrong about that. So we may need to fact check me, but it seemed to me that was the case. So they expanded their AI partnership with the Google Cloud. Actually, it's this April 2025. For some reason, I thought it was 2023, but I could be wrong about that. They focused on personalization for their customer experience, and they really wanted to increase efficiency by streamline the ordering process. And they used AI to support and not replace their teams and their strategy. So how did they put it into action? What they did was they personalized their marketing via AI. And they used push notifications and emails to personalize offers and specials and encouraging, the upsell when people were ordering, because AI could remember what that particular person, kind of sounds a little scary, but it actually is more convenient, and would increase efficiency and improve that customer experience by personalizing it. They also offered smart loyalty offers, and they wanted to encourage customer behavior in terms of ordering and upselling. They created an online chatbot and a virtual assistant to help with the ordering process, which actually made the customer experience on the user end much quicker, more efficient, and faster. So, what were their outcomes and takeaways? Well, they measured customer engagement and satisfaction. They measured improved operational efficiency. They also saw that it reinforced their competitive edge with modern tech. They are the fourth largest pizza delivery restaurant, I guess, if I can say that incorrectly, in the country as of 2023. AI aligned with their strategic goals. It just didn't use tech for tech's sake. And AI supported their teams, did not replace them. So they developed this model so that they could use it for measurable, very customer-centered growth. The next company is Three Men Movers. So Three Men Movers is a family-owned Texas moving company, and they were founded in 1985. Small company. They were not in a good place. They had really rising insurance costs because of accident rates, and some other crime that was happening with their moving trucks. They decided to seek AI solutions so that they could improve safety first, and then operate for their drivers, and optimize operations. So what did they do? They put in their moving vans, they put in AI powered cameras, which alerted drivers when they were distracted in real time. And so you've probably seen something like this in vehicles. A long time ago, I was in this is actually, I'd say probably 20 years ago or more. I moved actually to a new town, and it was a small town, and I wanted to get to know the town and the people. So I decided to drive a local cab. I mean, what better way to get to know people, right? And in the cab were cameras. Now they weren't live cameras. They recorded the drivers, but they also recorded the passengers. And I think that just even having the cameras, whether they were working or not working, because I'll be honest with you, I think most of the time they were not working, but drivers didn't know that. And we were on our best behavior when we're being monitored like that. So anyway, so that was one example of using the AI powered cameras. They also used an open source AI to optimize their routing to not only avoid traffic, but also crime zones and hazards. And in order to keep their drivers safe, they wanted to make sure to do that, and they did that. They also combined this tech to protect their team. So it was safety first. It was really about the drivers and the people. Then it was about improving daily efficiency. So that's what they did to put AI into action. What were their outcomes? There was 90% accuracy detecting distracted driving. In 3 months, there was a 4.5% accident reduction, and that was just in the first 3 months. The more efficient routes meant there was a lower risk for drivers and faster service. From out the gate, there was transparent communication about what they were doing, why they were doing it, and it really increased employee trust and fueled adoption. And they benefit, but they did phase testing so that they could demonstrate the benefits, so that the people, all the drivers, everybody who was touched by this was involved in the rollout. So what did these two companies, Papa John's and Three Men Movers do right? So there was strategic alignment because AI was connected directly to growth, efficiency, safety, and customer experience. There was cross-functional buy-in and communication, clear, transparent messaging to internal teams. They used phased implementation and testing before they rolled it out completely. And most importantly, what they had in common was human-centered integration. AI enhanced the human capability. It did not replace it. So before we get to the comments and questions, I really would like to extend an invitation for any of you who might be ready now or ready soon when it comes to integrating AI into your company. So let's talk about any of you who might be facing this dilemma. So first of all, if you're feeling the pressure to adopt AI because you don't want to get left behind, which is actually a reality, but either your team may not be aligned or you don't know where to start, if you are waiting to commit, it is going to be expensive. That's an opportunity cost because, quite frankly, your competition may have, they're going to go through 3 iterations of it before you get out the gate. So if this is happening to you, if you're feeling the pressure to act on AI, but you don't have a plan, if there's internal misalignment about what AI is here to do, if any existing AI initiatives are either stalled or fragmented, if you want help connecting AI to your actual strategic plan, what we're offering is actually the slide says 90-minute strategy session. We certainly could do that, but we are also offering a half day and a full day AI adoption strategy session with the entire team. So if any of these are happening to you, use the QR code here on this slide and schedule, we call it a right fit conversation. Let's just have a conversation to see if it would be a right fit to have either a 90-minute strategy session and do some strategic brainstorming around what you're doing, what you want to do, what you've already done that's not working, half-day strategy session, or a full-day AI adoption planning session. With the full day, you will come out of that with a 90-day plan and a roadmap. We would pick just one AI adoption strategy, and we would make sure you've got clarity, alignment, and you have a clear action plan for next steps. So if you have any questions about that, just put them in the chat. If you're ready, not ready, and many of you may not be ready yet. So Amanda also put the QR code in the chat. If you're having any issues with that, you can go ahead and schedule a 20-minute right fit conversation. There you go. All right. So Amanda, it looks like you've got some questions. If you want to put those up. Here's one question. What's your advice for getting buy-in from stakeholders who may be skeptical about AI, especially in more traditional industries? And manufacturing comes to mind. My advice for getting buy-in from stakeholders who are skeptical is bring it up and brag about it, basically. An all-hands meeting, a town hall, conduct focus groups, really be prepared as a leadership team to listen, acknowledge the concerns and fears and feelings people have about AI. I would say I call it the art and science of acknowledgement. When people feel heard and feel felt, and you don't have to have a solution and you don't follow up with a yes, but followed by why their feelings or fears are unfounded. There is a time for that information. It's not when you're listening. So I think go on a listening tour, especially with leadership does that. It really does mean so much to be heard and felt. And once people get heard and felt about their fears, it's amazing. I think about half, 45% of the urgency or the intensity of that fear reduces when someone feels that they're heard. Even if nothing changes about the situation, they just need to feel felt. So, number one, feel felt. All right, here's another question. If a company's brand new to AI, what's the first step they should take? That's a great question. So, brand new to AI, first step, they're wondering, is there anything that we can do that AI can solve? Well, of course. I think the first thing you can do is you can have do a survey, find out what's working in the business, what's not working so well. What advice would you give if you're surveying everybody in the company? What advice would you give to the CEO or leadership? So we do what's called discovery sessions with clients out the gate to find out really what's going on. Oftentimes, the problem that leadership perceives is not really the problem that is experienced by employees. The problem there is we've got people who are disconnected from their employees. Oftentimes, either they don't know how to have, whether it's stakeholder interviews or focus groups. And oftentimes when you have, so we go in and we do stakeholder interviews and focus groups in our discovery phase to discover what's working well in the organization, what's not working as well as it could. If you can do a SWOT analysis, we can look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and not necessarily threats, but but can't recall what we use instead of T now for some reason. But we do an assessment, right? So do an assessment and find out what's working well, what's not working so well, not just internally, but from a customer or client experience. And then decide whether or not there's an AI solution that already exists or one that needs to be created to cause less friction with that problem. So first step is assessment. So any more questions? All right. Well, I'm not seeing any, and we are 1 minute up until our 50-minute mark. So first of all, I want to thank everybody, whether you're listening to this or participating live, or if you're listening to the recording. Thank you so very much for joining us this early morning for the CEO AI Adoption Playbook. We hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out. Here's the QR code, email address for myself personally, my phone number. Check out our website. Would love to connect with you. Make sure that you do get we'll make sure that everybody gets the implementation checklist. If you don't receive it for some reason, we'll be sure to follow up with everybody to make sure that you do. Thank you so very much on behalf of Amanda and myself. Have a great rest of your week.